Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Hello.
Welcome to the 99th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-hosts Andrew Norman, Brandi S, and Sydney L. Sydney, I'd like to welcome you to the show for the first time, and I'm hoping you would tell us a little bit about yourself.
Love you, Sydney.
So I love you. I'm Sydney. I'm an addict. I love recovery. I'm very passionate about my recovery.
You got recovery fever? Woo.
Yeah, I would say so. I get it from my sponsor, and I live with my cat Elmo. I'm 29, turning 30 soon. I work with kids, which I really enjoy. And yeah, I don't know, recovery has changed my life a lot, like I'm 18 months and 11 days clean today.
I know her.
Yeah, and after being in it for quite a few years, I'm glad to be where I'm at today.
That's incredible. And so I ask the same question to everybody the first time they're on the show. So could you share with us the moment that the program sparked a recovery fire in your heart? Because it sounds like you got the fever, so there must be a fire going on somewhere.
Yeah, so I actually came to NA for the first time back in 2021. I was 101 days clean, and I was like, well, I haven't used my drug of choice in 101 days, so I'm probably good. And I just went back out and went away for 2.5 years. And I, stayed away from the program so that I could use some more. And when it came down to it, November 4th, 2023, I used for the last time, and I thought I was going to die. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I didn't know what I was praying to, but I prayed to something, and I felt a connection to something that I didn't know yet. And I wanted to have a deeper connection to that something. And so I just took every suggestion that anyone gave me. I remembered everything that everybody said the first time I came to NA. And I realized that what really tripped me up the first time was that it's a just for today program. And I could not make myself go one day at a time. I was like, I cannot be clean for 10 years. I cannot be clean for 2 years. And I think coming back around, realizing that I just had to worry about one day really changed my whole mindset. I just had to put it in the day, and it became something that was so much more manageable for me. I got my steps going, I got a sponsor going, I got a home group. Like, I made sure that I stuck to everything that was suggested to me in the beginning, and it just has taken off from there.
I love that. Yeah. We can only surrender for today. That's like tomorrow's surrender don't count now. That's for sure.
I am a former future tripper myself, so I get it.
I know, me too. I was like specializing in it. I was like, look at me not surrender. I got this one. Trust me. So today's topic is doing the next right thing. My main man, Andrew, can you share what this means to you and why you're happy to discuss this topic here today?
I would love to, but I have to get some things done first. First off, Sydney. First off, these two ladies right here are like, they're very special to me. I need to just first off say that because I started thinking about you two. And first off, if I drop off the face of the earth, I'm going to come back on my cell phone because we have a really bad storm going on, and there were some tornadoes going on. So I'm just letting you know, if I drop off, I'll be right back.
We'll wait for you.
These two ladies right here are have been monumental in my recovery process. And when I started really thinking about it, I got to give my love to you two because I haven't had you in the same room, in the same place like this. So it's like big sis and little sis, man. Like in terms of my, like for real. And I say that a lot in here, but like in terms of this is my, like when I talk about my home group, the place I feel at home at, that place that, you can't put boundaries on it. You can't.
I want to hear more.
He's coming. Just give him a second. Well, we got tornado, Andrew.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
still
so
here.
at this point, I'm going to say, Brandi, what does this topic, doing the next right thing, mean to you? And why you're
Ah,
happy to discuss this topic here today?
I love this topic because it's another one of those cliches that like I would poke fun at all of them, and little did I know that I'd be living them. I didn't have to say them anymore; I would just literally do them, and it's a big thing that in my trip or my recovery, when I realized that I didn't have to, I only had to worry about what I did, and as long as I do the next right thing, even when nobody's looking, you're making the right steps, you're going the right direction. And that simple line, it makes a huge difference. All the chaos that can go around, I just need to do the next right thing. And it's funny, I struggle in the little ways of that. Like, I don't have road rage or anything, but like, it's like I don't always let people in. Well, I should let him in. That even that kind of stuff. Hold the door for somebody. It's a way more than just our recovery also, which is, what's beautiful about really all the cliches that we say here all the time. So, it's a good start, and to go a direction that I know I want to go, and I want to be a better person all the way around, not just for myself, but for other people too, and doing the next right thing and not being selfish. Everything was the next thing that was for me. And today I can do the next right thing, and somehow it works out for me too, because I feel good about it. So I think it's a great topic. I was pretty excited when she picked it because you know, it's, it's, it's got so many spiritual principles in it too. I mean, so many are in just that sentence. Sentence is a lot bigger than I think we realize too. So
Woo-wee.
it's a great one. And when you hear someone say it, you know exactly what they mean and what it is. It's kind of like just for today, like, you know, just for today, do the next right thing. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's what I got to say about it. Andrew would have talked for 5 more minutes at least, but
We'll give him another
you
chance.
know,
Trust me. Trust me. He'll be back.
yeah, he's great. He's great.
He'll be back. And now, Miss Sydney, can you tell us why you picked this topic and you're happy to discuss this here today?
I would love to. I think, I'm also very big on the cliches that you hear in recovery. And just do the next right thing is one that actually stuck with me since the beginning. And I, I think I got a lot deeper into the meaning of it as my recovery's gone on, because at first it was just kind of the next right thing is to not use. And that was all I had to focus on. And eventually it got into, okay, I've been clean for a while. How do I keep that? How do I become a better person? How do I become like get a better way of life, and really following the next right thing or figuring out what the next right thing to do is has just really brought me to that better way of life, right? Like it's made me a more serene person, like Brandi was just talking about, all the different spiritual principles that go along with it. Like I find that by doing the next right thing, I feel more serene. I feel like I'm acting on humility. I feel like I'm acting on, like kindness and empathy and peace and patience and just, taking a step back and getting out of myself. And for so long, like my will was my quote unquote next right thing, right? And today for me it's not my own. It's of being of service, it's following God's will, it's doing whatever you know is outside of myself, not necessarily what I need, but what can I do for myself and for other people at the same time. And I just, anything that keeps me clean, right? And like anything that keeps me not just abstinent but working on a recovery. And I think
Mm.
that doing the next right thing is really the phrase that like sticks in my head every time I'm having a hard time. So that I was on the phone with Brandi and she asked me what the topic was and I was like, I can't figure it out, and it just popped right in my head and I was like, I feel like that's what I have to talk about. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm
I do
I'm
too.
loving this. So Andrew, you got cut off right on our side from right at the point of
Bro,
saying home group.
God
So
is
Doses and
crazy.
mixes.
God
yeah,
is fucking crazy, man. God is crazy. As soon as I say something, he's like, boom, lights out, bro. You got it. You're done. Not on my terms. Okay. So home group, man. Home group is where you feel at home at. These two ladies, for a lot of different reasons, on both sides of the fence have helped me through a lot of things in my life. And they're very special to me, and I just need to like really just take the time out to thank both of y'all for who you are, what you've done for me, and what you've allowed me to you've helped me grow as a man, both of you, because I cherish any woman in my life that's a friend of mine. Like I really, 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 really cherish them because I don't have many of them. And so when I can, you know, come to you regardless of what the problem is and know that I'm going to get an honest answer from a woman's perspective is very special for me. So both of y'all are amazing, and thank you for being here.
We
Brandy, like
love
your
you.
millionth time and your first of many, Sydney.
Good.
And then let's work on this program because that is not a cat that you own. That is a mountain lion. It is the resident mountain lion of Meeting Makers and a Meeting
He
Makers,
is
which meets
the
every single day of the
mascot.
week.
Yes.
He's the mascot. Look, this dude does not play. Is look, Elmo is the man. I love
He
And he
loves
that
cuddles
little
recovery.
cat,
so.
bro. He is
He
my guy, man.
cuddles. I love her
He
cat.
cuddles and hugs. He
He
hugs.
cuddles and hugs.
Yeah.
He
He was
hugs.
snugging me
He did it
last night.
last night. He did it
He loves
last night.
Yeah.
recovery. He loves to
Wow.
come up
But
to my
yeah,
phone.
and I also know that we're going to be honest today because I got your sponsor here too, Sydney. I know there's going to be no lying. There's going to be all honesty today because
Right.
I'm very happy about that. So doing the next right thing. I really, really was excited when I was told that this was going to be the topic. It involved. We're still on that, right? I can roll into that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's
cool.
you're supposed
So
to do what
it
it means
involves
to.
yes, it involves obviously making the daily choices to support staying clean, man. And obviously we're in a just for today program, but obviously we want to stay healthy and have our well-being going well long term too. So it involves a lot more than just a simple abstinence of not using drugs. We got to make good decisions for us, good decisions for people around us. um we have to prioritize this recovery thing. Um, on a daily basis, maybe on a moment to moment basis, a lot, because we have been the anti-recovery for so long. We've been living in that drug lane, wherever we've been for so long. So we have to take a lot of positive steps in the opposite direction, towards a more meaningful life. But it involves obviously, beyond abstinence, right? You can't just stop using drugs. Our disease involved a lot more than just the simple using of drugs. We didn't wake up every day and just have a closet full of the right amount of drugs every day. We did a lot of work that went into that. There was a lot of work that went into that. It's about finding meaning. Got to find meaning in life. Focus in on doing the next right things allows us to get purpose in our life. Like, and then we talk about this amends process, which is great. It's so amazing in this program. Um, Goodwill. When you do the next right thing, regardless of who's looking, because God's always looking. I say that a lot. God is always looking. It allows you to make a living amends to yourself. When we come in here, I'll keep it on me. When I came in here, I didn't think I could feel better about myself, regardless of what I was doing,
Right.
because I did so much wrong shit coming in here. I didn't think I could do anything right. So when I was able to understand what that word goodwill meant and what it could do for me, because it's not about just picking up trash or like, tying somebody's shoe. Like, it's not about that. It's about doing what your heart wants you to do, regardless of if you're a little tired or whatever it
Mhm.
is. And then look, it gets a little easier to do the next right thing the next time and the next time and the next time. And then people start looking at you as like a good person. Right. And you start, and it's not only that you're just doing things that, great things without any recognition needed, but it's because you'll start walking around different when you start doing things like that. When you start doing the right thing, regardless of who's looking, and you notice that people are noticing that, and it's not even about that part, but you start kind of walking a little with your head held a little higher, with your chest pushed out there a little bit more. And so doing the next right thing is really, really a beautiful topic, and it'll open up to an array of discussion,
Mhm.
questions and things like that. But it's about building that solid foundation. We cannot build a solid foundation on sand, Miss Sydney. We already know this, right? We're not going to do that. And then bringing the 12 steps as an influence into that, and just doing the next right thing always, man, makes you a better person. I love the topic. Thank you.
I know.
Love you, brother. And
Love you.
I love you, ladies. I'm really grateful we're all here together today. And, it's really been a journey. This topic is perfect for what's going on inside my brain right now. you might not know me, Sydney, but I kind of just roll through this series of epiphanies that kind of guide me along on my spiritual journey, and then they generally get talked about for a week or two on here afterwards until
I've
Andrew
watched
loves
a
them
lot of
too.
episodes. Yep, I've
Yeah,
heard them.
until Andrew loves them too. And one of the coolest things that's kind of been brought into my focus recently is about starting to live in a way that is seeing what you can be doing for others in every single moment, and in that moment of present action, coming to the moment with honor and respect, honoring the fact that you get to have this moment and that you're part of it, and respect for the beauty of the moment being the way it is without us blemishing it with our will, right? And that's the only way that I get there myself is through surrender, because I sure started to try and be like, hey, man, I got this surrender stuff, higher power, don't worry, man, like, I got this one, man, me, and and that was, it was really kind of plateauing and stifling my recovery for a while. And so, the only moment that I have to do the next right thing is right now. And if I just want to like go like, there's only one choice right now, is doing the most I can for others in this minute or doing something for myself. And that's my choice right at that moment. So the right thing is always on what you could do the most for others, as far as I could see, because we come into this program at the highest form of self-centeredness possible. And so our struggle is to relieve ourselves of that. I know, and being in true service of the moment, the universe, and others is really the surest way that we're not just acting selfishly. And it's something that I'm like really thinking a lot about right now. So this topic was like, yeehaw, can't wait to jump in on this topic. Yeah, it is. And I'm always excited for someone new. I like more recovery friends. I like people who are excited about it. And gosh darn it, if I don't love Andrew and Brandi, and if they love you, well, then you're kind of loved by
Yes, very
affiliation.
loved.
Yeah,
Very
and
loved.
so I think I'm going to ask
She's
Andrew to
brass.
ask the first round of questions. You got this one,
All
Andrew?
right. Yes, sir. I'm gonna come to Brandi first, and we'll make it around
All right.
that way, right?
Mhm.
Brandy's.
Yep,
All right, cool.
exactly.
All right, Miss Brandi, how did you? I'm gonna go easy on you first. How did
Okay.
you first come to understand what doing the next right thing really meant for you?
If I heard like stuff like it, and then when I got more in the program, I especially it's in literature, reading it more. But I remember being in treatment, and my counselor, she told some dramatic stories. She's like, if somebody came in and smashed my head on the table, and then I stabbed them, it doesn't matter what they did to me. It's a matter what I did. It's my actions that matter. And with that, I kind of like, it helped me understand the next right thing when no one's looking. That was a big part for it too, because like you're not showing off for anybody. You're not like, look at me, I'm doing something right over here, because I was like that when I was using. If I did anything remotely right, or good for somebody, I made sure I would toot my horn. But when it comes to just knowing and like almost dissecting the sentence a little bit and realizing that, like it helps to not worry about things. Like I said, I'm a future tripper, I might be a former one, but doesn't mean it's still not there. And so from the beginning of my recovery, it almost like formed itself into pieces for me to realize that this sentence right here is something that's super important. It's a few words, but it's something that can take me far. And it's definitely on the list of my favorite ones, because that's the next right thing. Because if I got anxiety, I'm worried about everything, this person, that person, what I got to do, what's tomorrow. All I can do is the next right thing this very moment, not even in an hour from now. Like, what can I do right now? And a lot of it is just to chill the fuck out. and I love lists. I make lists for things. I like to mark them off. Okay. And so, because I got to do that. I got to do stuff where it sticks, and that's one that does, because how can you go wrong with doing the next right thing? Ultimately, it's not, because before being so selfish. And I think that even if you are being selfless in that moment, you've got to get something from it. Otherwise, you're not human, So I think that, yeah, from the beginning, maybe it wasn't even in those words, but I understood it more. Understood more of what my counselor was saying when I started to read the literature, and that like that particular, came up, and I understood that, I just got to worry about me, just the next right thing. Like I don't have to think about any further, or I don't have to think about anybody else's next right thing either. Just myself. And it's a good one to live by. It really is. I don't think you can go wrong with it. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it was great
It
for
Doesn't
me.
matter.
did. So
That's a beautiful thing. It doesn't matter, and it did. That's the thing. All
Great,
right,
good,
Miss
good.
Sydney,
It felt
coming
good.
to you. You ready? That was beautiful, Miss Brandy. All right, you ready, Miss Sydney?
I'm ready.
So how did you first come to understand that doing the next right thing, or excuse me, how did you first come to understand what doing the next right thing really meant for you?
First came to understand it. I think, I think it also like relates back to like when I first relapsed after I came into NA. Because I think about, when people would suggest doing things to me and I would do them because somebody told me to, but not because I wanted to. I didn't want to help myself, right? Like somebody said, get a sponsor. I was like, okay. And I never called her. And somebody was like, get a step working guide. And I got it and I never worked on it, just things like that. And I think in my head at the time, that was what the next right thing was, quote unquote, was to just do what people were telling me. But like Brandy kind of mentioned, like you can dissect this sentence, right? And like the doing the next right thing, like there's a difference between just knowing the next right thing and actually acting on it. And I think that came this time around my recovery when I first came back, because I was so determined to like get clean. I was so determined to stop using. And at that point it was like, what do I need to do? And I think, the first few months, the next right thing just felt like, don't pick up a drug. And then it felt like, call someone if you want to pick up a drug. And then it felt like, get on a meeting if nobody picks up the phone. And so it just kind of went down this list of things of like, the answer is not me using a drug. Like whatever the question is, drugs are not the answer. So what is the right thing for me right now? And I've learned that sometimes I just have to like sit on my hands, right? Sometimes I have to go to sleep. Sometimes I have to take a deep breath or meditate or just cry. I love to cry. I never got to cry when
Beautiful
I was
crier, by the way. Beautiful crier, by the way. Kind of weird. I hate people crying. Like I can't even watch people crying or singing. There's like my two things, but I can watch Sydney cry all day. Just sorry, I had to say that.
Oh, I feel like that's
seriously.
Most of the time it's like a good cry, because it's like, even if I'm upset about something, I didn't feel anything for so many years and I wanted to not feel anything. And now, like I said, like sometimes crying is the right thing to do. Sometimes I need to just like, anything that doesn't like hurt me anymore. Like days when I don't want to be of service, that's when I absolutely need to be of service, because that's the right thing for my recovery. And days that I don't want to call a newcomer, I should probably call a newcomer, because they probably have something that I could hear too. And, it just goes on and on. Like there's so many things that changed, I guess, actually from the first way that I heard do the next right thing in my head to now it's like the actual meaning of it to me is how I get to save my life every day. By doing the next right thing every day is genuinely how I save my life every day, instead of just pretending that I'm doing stuff, because like I was a really good liar and I would convince myself that I was doing the right thing and I was convincing myself that I was telling the truth. And today it's like, if I make a little white lie, I call Brandy and I said, oh my God, Brandy, I think I accidentally lied about something. And like, that's for me, that's the next right thing, because I never want it to spiral out of control. Because the minute I think to myself, like, no, I'm not going to tell anybody I did this, even if it's the tiniest thing, I know how easily it can snowball in my life. So that's what that means to me. Thank you for asking.
That's beautiful, Sydney. Beautiful, Sydney. You ready, Milan?
I am totally ready.
So how do you?
Dude, your mic might be overdriving just a little bit, just so you know.
I'll go down a little bit.
Yeah. Just at least on my headphones, and I just want to make it comfortable. So
well, hopefully this is a little bit better.
Yeah.
How did you first come to understand what doing the next right thing really meant for you?
So today's theme of the day for me is freedom. And so there is a magical freedom when you're doing the right thing. It lets you not worry about what you did or what you gotta do. It's like you can just actually be like, in your actions. And I never had that ever till I entered the program. And so for me, I would say that my first introduction to knowing I was doing the next right thing was when all this God's will, self will was all laid upon me. And I was just like, I don't get it. And young Gabriel was just like, you know, just are you acting in contradiction to any of these principles? And if the answer is no, then there's a good chance you're doing the next right thing. You know, and it was just that simple to begin with, because I was lying to myself and everybody else so bad when I got here that, man, my right thing was always going to get me in trouble. Like if I was doing the next right thing, it meant, like there was just a list of like, you know, there's the 10 commandments. I'm breaking every one but one in one night.
The next wrong thing.
Yeah, like I was specializing in like I could make any wife in the world mad. Like your wife, my wife, anybody, like, you know, whether it was because your husband didn't come home for a week or something else, but there was like, I was a specialist in angering people, like without even knowing it, without even trying. And because I wasn't doing the next right thing, I was acting totally selfishly, and I was not acting in anybody's best interest but mine, let alone trying to serve the moment. And so now that's, you know, a big part of when I'm sitting there, you know, like, I don't know, Sydney, if you heard, but I have the Harry God box. I got my little Harry God box, and it's on the table. And right after I do my gratitudes in the morning, when I'm having my first tea, I'm like, I can sense that I do the wrong things in my head, and I'm like, okay, what do I need to put in this box right now? And like for me, using that box is one of my next right things, because it outlines to me what I should be letting go of right there in order for my day not to be steered in a crappy direction. And so my ability to understand how to do the next right thing is a constantly evolving thing, always. And that's okay, because never been happier to be wrong in my life than now.
Right.
I'm leaving
And
it.
that's a great statement.
Yeah.
My Harry God box has a maze on the outside that you got to get through before you can get into the Harry God box.
Woo.
And ladies, just so you know, y'all probably don't know what the Harry God box is, but it's
I don't know at all.
So it's not about it being a hairy substance or anything like that. It's just this gentleman Harry introduced us to this thing that you can probably understand.
Okay.
You want to explain it a little bit better?
Yeah, so if you're having trouble visualizing your will and God's will, you make a little box, and all the things that you should be surrendering, you write on a piece of paper and you put in the box. And if it's put in the box, you're not allowed to think about it anymore.
Oh, I like that.
And so it's amazing, because it's like, for me, it's a real tangible, like I'm like everybody's reaction to me today. That's the first thing I put in that box, because I'm like, I cannot control that, and I certainly fucking react to that every day. Like I'm like already supposing my reaction to your potential action, and then it's like I just put that in the box, and so anyway, the guy's name was Harry, who showed my friend Bryant. But I put mine like HAIR.
Could have had a cooler name. Could have had a cooler
Harry,
name.
and I want to put some faux fur on it, and it'd be like this hairy little God box.
Could have been like Sydney God box or Brandy God box or
so
Harry God box. Like
Brian was like, "Oh, you're gonna open that up and see." Like he opened his up a year or 6 months later to see how successful he was, and I'm just like, "No, dude." I'm like, if I'm truly giving it away, I never want to see it again. Never.
Yeah.
I would never. In fact, when it gets too full to put more in, I'm burning the bitch, and I'm going, we got to make another one.
You know what we need,
Milan? You could put multiple in there, like if you have to, like, you know, put the same action like a week later. Like I'm gonna put that.
That means you didn't put it in there properly the first time.
That's true.
But I like sometimes I'm just like talking to my wife.
I'm sure he's put ones in there twice that he doesn't really know he's put in there twice. You know, you probably do roll through them.
Oh no, like I know, like when I know I haven't given something away, I'm like, give it away again.
Answer, Brandy.
I'm regifting it.
Yeah,
I'm regifting it to my box.
We need little mini incinerators.
That's what we need. I was gonna say, I have a shredder. I'll just stick it in a shredder.
Like a little molten lava pit that just like just eats hearts for breakfast. You just and it just fizzles out.
There's that box, 2 pens, and a ripped up piece of paper on my table right beside where I sit at the kitchen table. because
That's
it's like
I figured
half of my shit goes on right there where I'm like,
That's awesome.
"Ooh, no,
I like that
That's
can't
idea.
react to
awesome.
that."
That's
I like
awesome.
that too.
So if you don't know, ladies, now you know. Now
I
you know
Yeah.
what's
know.
up with that thing.
Yep.
Mm.
And it's not some scary, hairy thing, but if you want to look at it that way and not revisit it, that's cool
I'm
too.
very visual, so thank you for explaining that to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we're all visual people. So so how did I first come to understand what doing the next right thing really meant for me? Wow, because honestly, man, when I first came in here, I was so raw and just raw everything. And when I got out of rehab, they put me back into this painting that I walked out of 30 days ago, and I'm supposed to get my life back, right? And that seemed like an insurmountable task to me. I know you can't just get out of rehab and just come sit at the kitchen table and be like, all right, guys, I got my job back, I got my life back. I need my dog and my all that other stuff back. Now it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. We're expected to get jobs and things like that. Change things up, right? We're supposed to do new things, right? And we've already hit on this. When we were in active addiction, we doing the next right thing. If it didn't involve drugs, it didn't really matter to us. It wasn't really coming on the radar for me. And so now as I clean out and I start to get some clean time under my belt and I start realizing that maybe I can get a job and to answer my question, I think it was right around the 90-day mark where I was looking at new jobs and um I was freaking out, man. I was freaking out. I had an interview with the place that I work at now. It's a doctor's office. I've never worked in a doctor's office ever. And I remember I had started at a new home group, which is like a local home group. It's that in a church meeting that y'all hear us talking about it every once in a while. And I remember sitting in these meetings such an uncomfortable way, like just trying to hear this message, trying to live by these things that they're talking about. I had asked the dude to be my sponsor at that point, but the guy, Rossi, my guy, man, he was like, he hadn't worked the steps through. And and yeah, so that taught me something there. And that noise was messing me up, Milan. You were making a lot
Sorry.
of noise. No, you're
I just
good.
flipped a piece of paper because I wanted to write something down.
I thought you fell down a well or something. And so what was I talking about? I have no clue what I was talking about.
Your first sponsor.
Yeah. No, the first home group. So yeah, and I
yeah.
had an interview. I remember I had an interview, so I had to like get in a shirt and tie. And I remember I'd been going to this home group, and asked the dude to be my sponsor. He said he couldn't because he hadn't worked the steps, but he's like, I'll help you. I'll help you. And I was getting ready to not go to that interview. I almost didn't go to the interview because I was getting that feeling that I was in active addiction where I was, I get out of the shower and I can't control my surroundings and I can't control things and I don't like the surroundings just eat you up. Like, like the surroundings just literally eat you alive and you're just get out of the shower. You might be hot, then you're cold and you're cold and you're hot. But I'm not on drugs anymore, but I'm like, fuck this, and I remember talking to that dude and he was like, man, just he said, well, he asked me a couple simple questions and he said, stay in the meeting. You're in the meeting, right? You're in the meeting. And he taught me about how just not using and just staying in that meeting. And he said, go get you another shower and calm down, keep the meeting on. And he said, you haven't used that yet, have you? And he said, you did the right thing. And that showed me how little just doing the right thing can be, man. That's how small and minute and how important doing the next right thing. I could have gone out that day. I could have not got the job that I'm at right now that I love so much that I can probably transfer to another state if I have to, because things are changing in my life, right? Like they seem like such small decisions, but they're so massive. They're so massive. Every decision we make when we're coming out of this thing can make us or break us. And I don't care how much time you've got. I'm seeing people with a lot of years dropping, like not like crazy, but you just see it. You see these little waves of that stuff happen, and whether it's directly connected to you or somebody that you know's person, whatever, man. It's just, and those are needed to keep us on our toes. But like that right there showed me that doing the next right thing, regardless of who's looking, can save my ass. And on top of that, a simple act of kindness can change the world, man. A simple act of kindness can change the world. You never know how far your reach goes, man. If you open that door for that lady, or if you act kindly to somebody who hasn't been acted kind to in 3 years, and not only that, it gets you out of your head. You know, if you want to get out of your head, go be of service to somebody. Man, go give that homeless dude $1. Go do something for somebody. It's so simple. It's so simple. So we'll go back to the simplicity. This is a simple ass program made for complicated ass individuals. And that's where we got to meet in the middle here, man. Because we're colliding with this simplicity, and we're just like, fuck that, right?
Yeah.
And
we like chaos.
We love chaos, bro. We don't know what peace is. What is peace? Peace is a lost commodity in my life, man. I'm so familiar in chaos in that shitty diaper, man. I'll take all y'all shit and put it in my diaper, and I'll still sit in it. And I'm like, what's up? What's next? You know, that's what I do. That's me, right? So I actually perform better in those spots, you know, but now I can use this addictive personality for good things, man. I can help people. I can love people, because I know now that I was given love as a kid, man, but I never was able to tap into it because I didn't have like a God of my understanding. I had nothing to tap into more than me. It's all me, all me, all me, all day. So I'll pass that to you, Milan. I love you, bro.
It's actually Brandi to
Brandy's
ask
question.
Sydney a question.
It's me. All right. I wrote down the order, even though you guys will tell me, because I always lose the order. But okay, Sydney, do you think that you can do the next right thing while running on your own will and not God's will?
No, absolutely not. That was a real quick one, but that's like absolutely not. I've proven that to myself over and over and over again, right? That what I want to do is I want to do what I want when I want it and get some instant gratification. And I want to not feel certain things. I want to avoid certain things. I want to, you know, just whatever I want, just genuinely, like whatever the situation calls for. And that's just never worked out. It's never worked out for me. And I've been learning that over the past 18 months, that like that's why it never worked out, right? Like I remember right before coming back, that I was trying so hard to find a reason why my life was shit. And I knew the reason was drugs, but I didn't want to say drugs because I just wanted to keep using drugs. And, you know, it was just always everybody else. It was never me. It was everybody's doing this to me. Nobody's helping me. Nobody knows, whatever, you know, it was just always a blame game. And as soon as I was able to look at the fact that maybe what I think isn't always the right answer, was a game changer. Because, you know, I just had to let go of what I thought that I knew, because what I thought that I knew was completely tearing my life apart, right? Like I had to sit with myself and think, okay, beyond the drugs, right? What else do you do? Because I know today that like my addiction is a disease that's been with me since I was a kid, and I still have it, right? Like I'm going to keep having it. And even though I'm not using drugs, like it shows up in other ways. And so I talk to my higher power, who I call God, a lot, like throughout the day, every single day, because it really keeps me in a grounded place to, you know, think about like, what is the next right thing to do? What is like in his will? Because I know that my God's will is for me to not use drugs, but beyond that, I know it's also to be a good person. I know it's, you know, to live with integrity and live with like compassion for other people and like so many other things. And, you know, I know myself very well. And I know that if I were to run back out on my own will, I would not be in recovery for very long. It wouldn't work because it never worked. And, you know, I had to surrender. I had to take myself out of the picture, and I had to put my God's will over everything else. And, you know, I think the step work really helped me with that, Brandi. I think it really changed my entire life. Like you know, giving that over to God, the first 3 steps, like I felt like a new woman, and I genuinely believe that's because I gave it up, right? Like I make a decision every day to turn it over to God. And I wouldn't want to change it.
It takes so much pressure off of us, you know, to do that. It really does. Yeah.
Work the steps, guys. Work the steps.
Yeah, work your steps.
I love the steps. I love the steps.
Me too.
All right. Milan, right?
Yep.
Okay, I wrote it down right. Okay.
That was beautiful, Sydney.
It was very beautiful. Do you think that you can do the next right thing while running on your own will and not God's will or your higher power? But
So, quick answer, like Sydney, absolutely not. I've told the story on here a bunch of times. Like, out of my 37 years of active addiction, 17 years were my unsuccessful proving of powerful, where it's just like I failed after failed after failed after controlling things. And man, the incomprehensible demoralization of myself was unbelievable. And, you know, when they say demoralization, it's like, man, I didn't have a freaking moral left at the end of it, you know? And so they're a demoralized, incomprehensibly demoralized person is probably not doing the right thing. I would say 100%. I have to tell an aside story right now. You guys know how I do this, but I have to. So
love it.
today I have walked a lot. Like, I went on 4K walks and then a 2K walk. But on my second walk, I was by myself. And so I chose my moment to pray. And I kid you guys not, this is the first day I actually got an answer, where I was
Oh
like
shit.
I was walking along, and I'm going through my gratitudes. Like I've said, that I'm praying this gratitude for all these things that I don't have. And so, like, you know, and I'm grateful for my surrender, and I'm grateful for the love that I have instead of anger. And I'm going through my list, and I looked up, and there's this like rustling in the trees, and I'm like by the biggest tree on our road, and it's just like it's picture book, like it's nice and curvy and beautiful. And I said, I'm so grateful for this breeze, and it goes whoosh right at me. And then I'm like, and then I'm like, and I'm so grateful for this sign from you. Whoosh, it does it again right at me. And I'm like so grateful for this connect.
He might pop out like that every once in a while.
Then
He'll
it
be
goes
back.
whoosh, and it comes
He'll be back.
down, and it's on the back of my, like, in tears, and I'm just like, this was so amazing.
Mm.
Did I just
That was
drop out?
that
You
was
did.
amazing.
you
That
did,
was
but it was
that was really
but we
awesome. It
heard
We
stopped.
heard most of it. Yeah.
We heard
Yeah, we
pretty
did
much
hear.
everything. And
Yeah.
you
Anyway,
stopped where you look like a
You
dragon, and you
paused.
stopped, and you're like, rah. like right when you were saying like bless me again, you got blessed again.
Yeah.
Sydney, we can hear that ring, I think, or is that
yeah,
you?
that
Or you
was my daughter trying to call in
Oh.
through the
You're
thing
good.
computer.
You're good,
Yep.
man. I just want to make sure y'all got it.
Yep.
So yeah. So where were we at?
So
I
basically,
think
that was the end of my story,
yeah.
and it's Brandy asking
I
you
like
now.
your side story. Yep.
I love that.
So I'll
That's
repeat
my-
it, okay?
I love you,
Thank you.
Milan.
That
I
was
love
a
you
good
too.
story, Milan. I love those moments.
It's gonna be really
Do
good
you
to
think
watch
that
that
you
and play back.
can? Probably won't be as cool. I've done that before. It wasn't as cool.
Wow, you just stopped. That's what it looked like. You were like, rah. Cindy thought you were like trying to come attack her. She's like,
Slow-mo.
hold on a second.
Yeah.
Coming to get you. You're
She's
lying.
like, I'm never
bruh.
coming on
Oh my-
again. I'm never coming on again.
Oh my god.
She
You're
loves
cracking
us.
me
She
up.
loves us.
She does.
I'll
I get
take that
enough.
question because I'm off
All
track.
right. Do you think that you can do the next right thing while running on your own will and not God's will?
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Man, that's a great question. That's a great question. But it's very simple for me. If I'm not living in his will when I'm doing, I got to check those motives quick, right? And what I mean by that is like if I find myself like ungrateful or doing something where I came at it at the beginning from an ungrateful position, I've really got to like step back and check myself, which I can do today, you know, because I'm not using drugs. You know, I used to just kind of plow through that thing before just to get to that ultimate goal, which was getting my drugs. But you know, I've gotta really lean into that pause button when that happens. Um, I've gotten really comfortable praying, guys. You know, like Milan just said, that was a beautiful, beautiful story that you just told. It made me feel something when you were saying it. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. And it doesn't always come at you like that, you know, but maybe very rarely, if ever, does it come at you where you like ask for an answer and it comes at you like verbatim, like gust of wind, ready. Like, what are you, gust of wind, right? You know, it doesn't come at you like that a lot. You know, cherish those times. You want to talk about a spiritual awakening or whatever it is. Like, there you go. But a lot of times it comes to me where in subtle, just the way I have was able to position myself that day, or who I was able to help, or whatever it is. It just comes naturally. I don't try to force it. But if I find myself ungrateful, I pray right back, because I've realized that I've taken some of that self-will back. You know, as soon as I realize I've taken some of that self-will back, I pray it right back to him. Brandy, you love it when I say that. I'll say that shit till
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm feeling ungrateful, I'm like, man, like I can always remember that I could be in a jumpsuit right now eating off that tray, you know, selling my ramen noodles for deodorant. Like, that's not where I want to be. That's not where I want. It's not for me. That's not for me. So I pray it right back, man. But like, look, the scary thing about doing that and turning that thing over to that God of your understanding, like constantly and all the time, is you got to be like prepared and ready for whatever comes your way. Like whatever that looks like, you got to be prepared for that. You know what I mean? Even if it's not what you want it to be, you got to be prepared for it. And know that, like, he has your best interest at heart. Like, if it doesn't work out, like, he's got something on the other side of that for you. Growth, you know, strength, you know, resilience, and whatever it is on the other side, he's got for you. And that thing that you're going to get all pissed off about is not meant for you. Right. I would find myself getting caught up in, like, the third job that I didn't get, or you know what I mean? And I already got a new job. Right. And I'd be worrying about that third job that I lost, which it didn't even matter at that point, but I'm worried about it. What am I worrying about it for? I already got a new job, and it doesn't really matter, right? And that's just my disease. Just my disease, that dis-ease, you know, dis-ease way of thinking. So you know, when I'm tapped into him, and I know that what I'm doing always the next right thing, because it makes me feel better when I do the next right thing. If I'm not feeling good when I'm getting ready to do something, I stop. I don't do it. You know what I mean? I follow my heart. I follow my instincts today. You know what I mean? I'm very, very comfortable with that. And I love, like, that shit's going out of style, man. And I wasn't able to do that before. So you know, when I'm tapped into him, I find peace. When I find peace, it gives me a time of, you know, my mind is calm, it's peaceful. You know, I can reflect on my process. You know, I can hear my thoughts when I'm tapped into him. When I start not being able to tap into my thoughts, that's when I know I'm getting ready to go somewhere I don't want to go. So
Yeah.
we'll pass that to you, Milan.
No, it's Brandy answers her own question now.
It's
Big
me.
dummy. We haven't had 4 people in a while, bro. I'm like all mixed up. I'm
How
like,
many episodes?
Is-
99?
You can drag everybody
This is
to put them in the
99.
right order.
Oh, I think you can't you?
Yeah, you
I
can
just wrote
click
it
and
down.
drag everybody in the right order. That's what I do, and then I don't have to think about it.
Oh, I thought you just had like a really great memory, which you probably do. Okay, so for me,
Well, I do, but
you know,
like I still do that.
your camera, I don't know if anyone saw it. It went really stopped and then it went really fast.
Yep.
It was kind of cool.
I'm
I'm happy I wasn't the only one that saw it. So you know, when it comes to definitely, I mean, quick answer, no, I can't do the next right thing. I can do the next thing, but I can't do the next right thing on my own will, because, and like surrendering, I got to do it all day sometimes. And it's not like I'm out there like robbing banks or stealing people, but like just stupid stuff that could, I'm like, that's not me. That's not my will, because my will likes to run amok. And so how do I do the next right thing? If so, what are my intentions and what I'm doing? And, you know, when I realized that I gotta, like, I love a good attaboy, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't need them anymore. I don't necessarily like, hey, look at what I did, because I know through God's will that I know this next right thing. Like, you just kind of, you know, the difference. I can catch myself mid action and know, like, this isn't the next right thing. I mean, this would benefit me. This would be cool, but it's not. And there's just no way to like live in the middle of that right there. You know, I think it's a big part of his will for me is to do the next right thing. And especially when I only know, like, I know how to do the next wrong thing, but it wasn't the next wrong thing in my own eyes. You know, for a long time, it was like, it was just benefiting. Like, it took me a lot of time to really like admit a lot of things, to know that what I was doing was like the next wrong thing. and I was selfish. And so because I could, like Cindy, I could justify anything, like, this is why, and if they don't know about it, it's technically not a lie. And so, which that's just, me lying to myself. But I just don't, there's no way, because I think it goes hand in hand. I've obviously we've all done the work to be where we're at today, but our higher powers have gotten us there, and our higher powers will. And I used to be that was my big thing. I was afraid when I got into treatment or into recovery that I was going to take it back, because I did that all the time. And for anything, when it comes down to, doing the next right thing, or, just staying clean, or being accountable, all this stuff, it's written in my God's will for me. And, I don't think that, that I would want to, like, I can see it when it's mine. It could even be like steal my kids' candy. It's not the next right thing. It's like God's will. I've had to make a sugar amends, so I've been past that, but still, it's,
Mom.
I know, I blamed it on my dog. Don't tell him.
Maybe you're saving their teeth.
I'm glad we got your sponsee here. I'm flipping around on this. I'm glad we got your
Right?
sponsee here hearing all this.
I know. My sponsor told me you might have to do a sugar amends, Brandi. I was like, oh, maybe I should, and I did, because I took the suggestions. But yeah, I just don't think. I think it's like, it's just a faking it. If you're out there thinking you're doing the next right thing, and you are running on your own will, you are lying to yourself. And even if you do a couple right things, I don't think it's going to end up good. And because I could fake it in the wrong way for a long time, but it always falls apart. It always does, because it's not natural. It's not what it is. So yeah, I mean, you definitely cannot.
That's beautiful, Brandi.
Love that. And now, Miss Sydney, do you have a question for me?
I have so many questions. Like
I'm
I said,
scared.
I came prepared,
I'm scared.
man. I was like, I know what to do.
We might
I'm
hit a lightning
excited.
round.
This should be good,
Your
Milan. This should
podcast,
be
I'm
good, Milan.
fangirling right now. All right. Here's the question.
I love the self-care tattoo, by the way.
Thank you.
I
It's
got
a good
acceptance to remind myself, so.
I like it.
Mhm.
All right. Can you share a time when choosing the next right thing made a difference in your recovery?
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. I'm trying to think back, or I'm trying to think forward. And yeah, so I think that when Tom came on and gave us that, that statement of, this isn't a program of self-improvement, this is a program of surrender. And I think instead of being a sucky little jerk, I fully embraced that. I mean, man, we carry that surrender torch like it's a dark cave, and we're in Raiders of the Lost Ark right now. But to reroute and to just be like, hey, I've been really acting wrong for a long time. That was like that to me. If I have to think of the single biggest thing, it would be that. That was like the biggest U-turn that I've ever happily made. Like I feel like I was Dukes of Hazzard, ooh, like squirching around. I was like, yeah, but and it's absolutely made me happier to be wrong in more circumstances, and that in itself is keeping me really teachable right now. And so I'm loving it. Like I'm just, I'm surrendering my ego on that about it, and I'm gonna leave that there. I really like that question.
Thank you.
I do too.
That was beautiful.
Andrew,
Is
right?
Andrew, yep.
Am I right? Nice.
Yep.
Look at me paying up.
You got it down.
Can you share a time when choosing the next right thing made a difference in your recovery?
Yes, I can, Sydney. Since I've been talking about all these little small things, I'll kind of hit on something that was pretty major. Look, I'll stay up all night with somebody if they're like struggling. I think y'all know that. I'll be in the parking lot for hours and hours, maybe maybe the whole night. I have been before. There was a kid that would come in and out of the rooms, and I still talk to him. He actually texted me the other day. But he used to come to my old home group, and he started coming. He came a couple of times to this group, popped in there. but he was struggling really, really bad, man. And this is when I think this is when I first started dealing with this kid. I think I had a year and a half clean. I was kind of where you were at right now, Sydney. And this kid is local to me, and this is not about any accolades or anything. I remember staying up for days with this kid, man, that who was essentially homeless, had a lot of drug issues, and he lived probably an hour and a half away, from hour to 2 hours away from me, in a really, really bad city, Newport News. They call it bad news. Like, I'm talking about shooting. Like, it's just a bad area, man. Really, really bad area. And so I had to drive over the bridge that I almost died on, that I almost drove my car off the bridge, like that one that I've said in my stories before. Had to go over the Hampton Roads Bridge tunnel to get to the other side. Anyways, there was a lot of things that I did. And I remember early on when this kid started asking me for help, and I remember I used to go out there, and I used to sleep with that kid, and like I used to drive out there, and I would have him in my car, and we would sleep in a parking lot somewhere, just so he didn't have to sleep. He was like, bro, if anything, I gotta run the streets until about 7 o'clock in the morning, then I can go sleep on my boy's porch, bro. And it was one of those things where it didn't matter I was tired. It didn't matter that I was uh didn't feel like I had the capability to do that, but I remember doing that, and I remember well, how that made me feel. I remember helping him get into treatment, helping him get into the local treatment center. I remember taking him like quarters, because I remember being in that same. It was actually detox. I got him into detox around here, and he went to the same detox I went to. I took him quarters. I took him blankets. All anything. Pillows, all that stuff. I even told him when I went in there, just so I could get real inside access to him, that I was a sponsor, and I wasn't. But I was taking him everything he needed. Then I subsequently got him. He left there, relapsed, almost died. They let him out of there, and I didn't hear from him for a couple of days, and then he ends up back in the hospital because they had I don't even want to get into it. He got back on it, and I had to let him go. But I kept him close, and then I ended up getting him into the 30-day facility that I went to after a little time. And that's not really about doing the right thing, but I just know that when you start working a program in your life here, man, like when you start getting compassion for other people, like the next right thing can be very, very small, but it can save somebody's life, man. I mean, like I have 2 voicemails from that kid that are over a minute long, talking about how he's not going to talk to me anymore and he's going to kill himself as soon as he gets off the phone with me. And I kept him because I knew he was getting ready to have his first son, has subsequently had his first son since then. And he's a dad, and he's still struggling a little bit, but like the dude's alive. You know what I mean? The kid's alive, and he's got a shot. But again, you never know how far doing the next right thing could go for you or for somebody else, man. You can change somebody's life, man. Something as simple as just telling somebody you love them. They might not have ever heard that shit in their life before. They might not have ever felt appreciated in their life before until they meet you in a meeting. Tell them you love them. It'll change you, let alone them. To get you people that love you and be there for you. I'll pass that. Thank you for asking.
My sponsor calls that. I was telling her, she's like, hashtag LLA, love like Andrew.
Love like Andrew. That's right.
Is it starting to go around? Is that starting to go around? Yes. LLA. I like it. LLA. Love like Andrew. Start it. Get the stickers.
Right. I know. Right. I was like, that's gold. That's gold.
You heard it here first.
Right. Okay. Ask me.
Could you read the question again?
Yes. I love it repeated.
Okay. Me too. I get it. Can you share a time when choosing the next right thing made a difference in your recovery?
So that, listening to you guys talk and like what just sticks in my head the most, and I feel like this was the next right thing. So when I was, and I'm gonna go way back. So when I was in treatment, and like when I got to treatment, like I think somebody had talked about, like I wanted to be treated like I was doing something special. Like, I'm not bad anymore, so don't treat me like that. And so I would get to call my family. And I remember telling my husband one time, like, I really wanted him to toot my horn. I'm like, I need you to tell me I'm doing good and tell me you're proud of me and you believe in me. And he's honest. He's like, I'm not really good at that stuff. Like, and I know how it feels, but I wanted him to be uncomfortable and say it to me. And so I was talking to my counselor about it. And she's like, you go back there, you call him, you tell him that he doesn't have to do that and apologize to him. And I'm like, what? Why? And she's like, because it's not his job. It's not his job to do that. And so the next right thing was me going and calling him because I was like, I didn't want to do it. I did not
I'm gonna
want
say
to
you
do
do it. You go do it.
yeah, I'm like, you do it. Because until I really like did it and understood what she meant, like why, it was not as that was a lot to put on somebody that I had already drugged to hell and back. And it obviously was a big impact on me because I think of that moment quite often, of when I went and like realized that I need to like stand on my own feet, doesn't mean that he's not going to support me and love me, but I'm still that drug addict, to him. And especially that fresh. I came home from 28 days like I was hot shit. So I had to think about it a little bit more too. But it
She has
was
arrived.
exactly. But it's because it wasn't it just was something I didn't want to do, but I knew that it was the right thing to do. And I wasn't ordered to. So for me to turn around and do that, it really made me realize then that that I have to do this, like I got support. My husband has, it was a hard time, but he was still there. He was there when I got home. But I have to be able to stand on my feet and do this. I can't have anybody else carry me and like, oh, you're doing good. Now you can do it another day, and and that's where all that comes, like, that's the next right thing. The right thing to do was to call him and relieve him of that because uh that's not his job, and so that moment's always stuck with me and I felt like it was the right thing to do. So when he said that, I was like, that's perfect. That's the perfect one because again, I didn't want to. I wanted him to praise me for going to treatment and being clean after I'd lied to him for so many years. It's so delusional.
Beautiful.
Relatable.
So that's my answer.
Thank you for being
It's a great
vulnerable,
question.
Brandy.
Thanks, Brandy.
And now, Sydney, you've got to answer your own question.
Oh, I would love to. I must have started with I'm Sydney, I'm an addict. I'm so used to
Sydney hey, Milan, Sydney the question queen.
Oh,
That's me.
Yeah, right.
So, okay, choosing the next right thing made a difference in my recovery. I was thinking about something Milan said earlier about how choosing the next right thing like kind of meant the same thing as freedom, right? And so I started thinking about the phrase, how free do you want to be, which is another little cliche that we say. And I started thinking like, what made me feel free since I've been in recovery, right? And I think the biggest thing that I had to change besides everything was I had to change my phone number. And I think that was the smartest thing that I did because I never wanted to, like, I had dealers, I had crazy like drug dealer exes, I had people looking for me, and I didn't want to change my phone number because I got it when I was really young and it was still in my mom's name, and my mom has since passed away. And every time my phone made a phone call, it would say it was from my mom's name. And so I didn't want to let that go. And, I got to this point where like people from my past were continuing to do it. And I like continuing to reach out, and I had to make that choice. It was like, no, this is important. And I think the choice for what the next right thing is, do I want to go back to something in chaos, or do I want to try to finally be free and live in peace? And I chose to live in peace. And I thought, I tried to make so many excuses, like no one's going to have my phone number, as if I don't have their phone number, like just shit that I obviously can do by, like, it's just goes back to like that self-will, right? Of like, I know the right answer and I have to accept that like, that's what it is. And what's crazy is like I could have changed my phone number that whole time because it still came up with my mom's name because it was under the same account. So I just think like that was like when I call it still says my mom's name, so that like in the whole time.
That's so funny.
So funny.
Yeah, but I just think because now like it got to like a really scary place. Like it got to a place where I was feeling like threatened and scared and where I was. And like it really started affecting my recovery for a while of, you know, these people like won't stop trying to drag me back in, and I don't want to be dragged back in anymore. And that was honestly probably one of the decisions where I was like, what is the right thing to do in this situation? That's probably the biggest one that has actually like impacted a lot of parts of my recovery, because I got to start over. You know, like I got to have a clean slate. I got to cut off that contact with not just people that like I did drugs with, but like people who, you know, we just didn't even in like a nice, like, you know, ways that like we just don't connect anymore. I don't have to worry about like if I need to, you know, do that with like, I don't know, just dealing with things that I don't want that pressure on my heart anymore. And I don't want that pressure on like, is somebody going to come looking for me? Right. And, you know, the people that know me know my number. The people that need me know my number. I give it out to people in a private message now, because I want to make sure that like it's the right reason that it's being, you know, being used. And that's honestly like, it's my phone number is very important in the sense that like I want to like help people with it, and I don't want it on the other end of my phone being like, hey, I have some of this, do you want it, you know, or like, hey, I miss you, where are you, you know, stuff like that. It's just not, it created such a big sense of chaos, and I really value my fucking peace today, dude. Like I have so much quiet in my life. Like I worked way too hard on this piece to go back to that, you know. So that's probably mine. Yeah.
Well,
I love that, because even changing your phone number, it seems like maybe small to somebody, but that's a huge decision.
Huge.
And it's a piece that people might, well, that won't make it. I'll just look over that. But like that's a huge piece.
Takes a lot of courage to
it's
do
also
that too.
it's also a reservation to not do it.
Yes.
Like, you know,
a bunch of them.
It is a bunch of them for sure. But, you know, like you can delude yourself and hide behind like, well, I want that number. Or I've had that number for a while. But it's really like, I want to stay, like in your addictions, like just stay connected to your dealer, man. You'll
in case.
just in case. Just in case. Just in case. So the end of your response there, Sydney, goes perfectly with my question, but I'm going to ask Andrew first. It says, the next right thing often costs us ego, but buys us peace. What choice could you make today that sacrifices pride but nourishes your spirit, Andrew?
What was that last little snippet? Well, that last part of it?
What
the last part of that question. Yeah.
What choice could you make today that sacrifices pride but nourishes your spirit?
That's a beautiful question, man. You got some crazy questions, man. I love you so much, man. It was. That was very, very like deep. It was very deep and quick.
But it was perfectly timed for her ending on peace.
Amazing.
I was just like, whoa.
Amazing.
I'm like, could you cue me up there? Question queen?
Question queen. She got a new name. So look, there's no way to look, we said this in one of the last podcasts. There's no way to peace. Peace is the way, guys and gals. Right.
I have that written in my book.
And usually we don't allow the people here on this podcast to change their names, but we're going to allow you to do it for today, Sydney. So thank you for changing your name to Question Queen. I love you so much. Love you so much.
Hashtag LLA, Andrew.
Right.
So look, man, I'm glad we're talking a lot about peace today, man. And I guess doing the next right thing really does equal peace, man. Peace is such an unknown thing to me. 3 years ago it was. But there's no way to peace. Peace is the way. We talk about this a lot, man. We talk about that a lot. And serenity comes, Sydney, when we trade expectations for acceptance.
I love that.
We hit on that a lot, man. If we can trade all these expectations and all these like what ifs and all this outside influence stuff, like we're going to be a lot better off. That's kind of one step that I can really take today. It keeps me out of that people pleasing lane that I find myself so deeply entrenched in all the time. I still find myself in that lane. People pleasing. I'm lying to myself. I'm lying to myself every time I'm doing it. But that's at the root of my disease too, that people pleasing part. It goes in with the dishonesty. It kind of takes me outside of myself and allows me to blame other people for things. You know what I mean? Blame my feelings on how other people think about me when it's all about me anyways. What's wrong with me?
Right.
And so today like I'm fully aware that like what is it? What was it? Bad decisions. It says something about knowledge comes from bad, good decisions come from experience. That's what it is. Good decisions come from experience, right? But like you can't get any experience without any bad decisions.
Mm.
So we got to learn. I'm learning constantly from my mistakes. When I before I got here, I used to not, when I would have something bad would happen to me, I'm like, I just hope it won't happen again. I wouldn't take a step to like try to correct that thing. So the step work, man, you hit on it, Miss Sydney. The step work has changed your life, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Guys and gals, if you come into a 12-step fellowship, work the steps of that 12-step fellowship. Read the literature, read the book that Brandi's autobiography.
Yeah.
Work the
Straight
steps.
up.
Work the steps.
It's
And
signed
look, if
Friedel at the end.
it's signed Friedel. If you get it at a used bookstore and it's been like dipped in the highlighter bucket 3 or 4 times, just know that was a Brandi. That was
You have
Brandi's
an
sign.
That was my
original.
book. That was
Yeah,
mine. Yep.
we don't have highlighters. We have a whole bucket of highlight juice, and we're just like, bro, that whole
That
shit
shit.
is, yep, the whole jam. You
Yeah.
got another book? You got another one? So look, the thing is, I see a lot of people come in here and we talk about differentiating our way out before we even get in here and complicating our way out, not identifying our way in. And I see a lot of people struggle to get long-term clean time under their belt. And it's because they don't read the literature. It's because they don't work the steps. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I'm not saying that you're not where you need to be right now, but if you come in these rooms and you're trying to find out a way to be a part of this group and you haven't read that literature or started those steps or taken some steps, that's why I know for a fact that's why. If you read these books and then you're still differentiating yourself, then maybe you're not an addict. Maybe another fellowship or something different is for you. Because we accept everybody, man. Like if you have the desire to stop using drugs, we need you in these rooms, and we will love you. I will love you just as if I love one of these 2 ladies in my meeting. Anonymity, man.
But not as much as me.
I didn't like I said, I didn't say Milan because Milan's on a whole different.
Yeah.
That was implied. That goes without saying. You didn't have to throw it in their face, Milan. Damn. I mean, come on, man.
I'm just being.
I'm gonna hear about that one later now. All right. So but look, you guys, so that's how I live, man. I it's across the board how we work things in this program, man. And I got spiritual principles in my life today because I work the steps. And I've said this before, the step work don't mean shit, Brandi. Listen to me out though. The step work don't mean shit. It's the spiritual principles that girl right there can work into her life every day as a result of working the steps. Right? That's where the real hit comes in for me.
True.
You know what I mean? If you get done working a step and you don't know what spiritual principles and you're not able to really work those in your life, that you need to go work that step again. That's my personal opinion.
Good way to say it.
So other than that, I'll pass the buck because I love both of y'all and I want to hear y'all.
Okie dokie, Friedel. The next right thing often costs us ego, but buys us peace. What choices could you make today that sacrifices pride but nourishes your spirit?
What comes to mind first for me is the confrontation with my sister. And I say that because so much I want to say, and justified or not, I mean, I believe it's justified, but really it comes down to that it would not bring me peace. And so I just let her think whatever, instead of trying to like prove her wrong or tell her what she's doing wrong. The next right thing in that situation is to not say anything. She's the only person I haven't made my amends to yet because it's, it's got to be, maybe she's one of those situations that it could cause harm, make it worse or whatever. But I've realized that, that me not saying stuff to her is me setting aside how I feel and not setting myself up to feel like shit, because it's not going to be, and I'm all about conflict resolution today. I really am, like in a not an aggressive way, but like I don't like there to be conflict. and today I can say something in a non like aggressive way. Before it would just be like, it's okay, and then I'm like freaking out. But today I want to, to me, the next right thing is to not have that kind of stuff in between people, especially family. And but there's certain special scenarios, and I do believe my sister's one of them, and she'll probably forever be on my 4-step, but that's all I can do, really, And because sometimes it's not worth telling people really, what's up, even if you feel it's true or it's justified, or they got it coming. What does it do for you? Like, what peace does it bring you? Does it bring you peace? Because even if they need to hear it, or if it was right, it's not always, because that's what I'm all about, that inner peace when it comes to something. Someone said to me one time, like, if you're going to say something to somebody, like, you got to think about it. Are you doing it to help them, to hurt them, to help you, to hurt you, to inform them? Like, why are you saying it to them? And that's helped me a lot when it comes to stuff that especially when it comes to my sister, that it just doesn't need to be, because of my putting, my ego aside and choosing peace is going to help me, because I can't change her. I can't. Somebody said, and maybe off topic, but it's so powerful to me. I've repeated it so many times, that they're going to get you high before you're going to get them well. And that just mind blows me, because that is like 100% my relationship with my sister. I mean, if we had one, because that's all it was at the end, and other family members, but just that there's no peace in any of it. And so I just can't. I'd rather just hold on to my peace, and be not her, let her think whatever, and I don't like that. I don't want people to think bad of me. Like, she thinks she knows all these secrets on me. Like, I'm an open book. I am an open book.
Bring
And
it.
I am. And so I'm just like, you know what? Just let her believe whatever. It's not going to do anything for me, and it's not going to do anything for her. So it's a big one. Inner peace is important. It's super important. I mean, and it never was before. It was, and maybe it was, but I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't make sure it didn't go off, off the rocker a little bit. It was kind of like just in the moments. But today it is important. If I start to lose my inner peace, I need to do something. There's something I need to turn around, like paint a rock or something. I go to the river, come home with rocks in my pocket.
Paint them,
it
not
makes me
smoke them.
happy.
Paint them, not smoke
That's
them.
right. That is
I want to say
right.
one thing. This made me really think about something. Hear me out on this, Brandy. I would rather adjust my life to your absence than to try to adjust my boundaries to accommodate your disrespect of me.
Whoa.
Yeah. There are some sentences that just hit, and that's like, it just explains so much. And yeah, we can
And I had
only,
to go off camera because
work
I
on
killed a big
ourselves.
spider on my wall. I had to kill a big
Ooh.
spider, and I had to go off
You
camera.
killed
For
it?
Was it staring at
Yeah,
you? Is
bro,
that
it
why
was
you
ready
did
to like
that?
kill me. Do you want me to die or you want it to
He's
die?
like, that was the next right thing for my life.
Um,
I don't do spiders either.
you could have
Miss
just
Sydney, it was bad.
Okay, Sydney. The next right thing often costs us ego but buys us peace. What choice could you make today that sacrifices pride but nourishes your spirit?
Oh boy. Sacrifices pride nourishes my spirit. I think the first thing that comes into my head about that is when they talk about like motives of doing service. Because I think that when I first got into service, when I first got clean, it was kind of like genuinely, like, to be completely honest, I wanted people to listen to me. Like, I wanted my own little platform for people to listen to, like, have to
I love
listen.
that.
You got one now.
Sydney show.
Here I am. But no, and now, I talk about doing service as if I, like, I chair a couple meetings, and when I do, I like to run it as if it's at least one person, if not more people's first ever meeting, recovery meeting. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
You're good.
It's
You're
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as if it's their first ever meeting, and I truly mean that, because like I could be the first person to chair a meeting that they've ever seen, and I could be like, I represent like the traditions at that point. I represent what this fellowship is at that point, and taking my ego out of that is so huge for me, because there could be people in the meeting that I just don't like and I could make it real easy to shut them down. I could make them feel real shitty real quick. And I choose not to, because that's not my place when I'm of service. It's not my place in general today, but especially like when taking myself out of something, I fully believe that being of service is like the greatest form for me to get out of myself and to do like something God-centered instead. And I think that that's the greatest example of like a time when I just genuinely like, you have to check your motive. Like, are you doing this because you want to? Or are you doing this because it's for the betterment of the group or the betterment of, what the next right thing, right, is for that group? Like, what is that going to look like for the newcomer, for the person who's struggling, whether they're newer, like been around for a while? It's never about me when I do service anymore. And having that mind shift was very important. And that's why, like I said, on the days that I don't want to do service, it's really not about me. Like that's how I take it, is like that's why I have to do it. Is not only just because it's good for me to do it and to like um so that I can go to a meeting when I feel like I need a meeting, but it's also me getting out of myself, me getting out of whatever I'm going through, and me putting other people above me, because that's what recovery is to me. It's just like I'm no better, I'm no worse than anybody else in this room. Not just this room, but like any fellowship room. Like we are all cut from the same cloth. We all identify as an addict, or however you identify, but we have a disease of addiction. And humility is my favorite spiritual principle, and I really try to practice that. And I think that that keeps me very peaceful on a daily basis, finally knowing in my life that I am nothing special compared to everybody else. And I think that that's it could sound like a bad thing, be like, oh, I'm not, but I genuinely mean it as like, I'm just equal, right? Like I could
Humble.
be the person who needs that extra help. I could be the person who needs somebody to be of service to me. And it's my God's will today that I give that back to other people. So that's how I keep my pride out.
That's
Not
beautiful.
a sign of
that.
weakness. And service work is a posture of the heart.
Damn right.
I might be nothing special, but we are everything special.
That's right.
And
I love
I love
that.
all of you.
I love that.
Group hug.
Look, the next right thing often costs us ego but buys us peace. What choice could you make today that sacrifices pride but nourishes your spirit? Like my ego never brought me peace. I didn't have a clue what peace was until I put down the substances and my surrender started. And that was the first piece inside 37 years where more was off, or more was shut off, or just like, holy shit, it's a lot quieter in here. Like it was so different. And so, today, what choice could I make that would sacrifice pride? I'm finding myself able to catch myself on self-centered actions where I'm like quickly stopping either partway through or even right after, and able to just be like, that wasn't what I want to be around. That wasn't what I want to project. That wasn't the right thing. And that hairy God box is for sure. Like, there's something about, putting pen to paper, even with your will, like seeing something written down, like, and then you're like, how stupid does that look that I was actually doing that? Like when I see that, when I'm like, her opinion of me, or that thing, and I look and I see, and I'm like, oh my God, like, how could I possibly think that I could control that? And why would I want to? Like, why do I even give a shit? It's like there's so many what are they, like, control, like, action templates in my character that I'm like, holy shit, don't need that one, and try to smash that, and then it comes back. But there's so many times where I don't even want the control that my brain tries to get. And it's absolutely astounding. And then starting to embrace my mistakes, as the vehicle for my learning is a big thing. Like, I was a real mathematical perfectionist kind of person. Like, you were never kind of right in math. Math is right or wrong. And so when you grow up in that kind of thing, there's not much of a room for mistakes. Like it just wasn't, because when it's like high level competition stuff, you really want to be perfect. And so learning to embrace my mistakes is a massive thing. And then that
Yeah.
saying, like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Because being right, costing me my ego is never buying me my peace. Being right, like, it's always at the expense of somebody else being wrong. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay to
Yeah.
silently be right, but it's never the right thing to rub somebody's face in their mistake at
Yeah.
your
Mm.
own edification. Like,
Yeah.
to be like, hey, look at me up here and you down there, and I'm so much further along than you. If only one day you could figure this out. And that
Yeah.
person's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to throw you a parade. Not a chance. Like they're like
Right?
they're like, this guy's an asshole. I don't want to be around him. I can't wait for him to leave.
Yeah.
And then what I really came to a realization was, especially with my daughter, is that every time that I am right and I make her feel like she was wrong, that's like a diminishment in her own character. Because when they're little kids, they they'll take that to heart, of believing that they're not smart enough, that they don't make good decisions. And it's like it I really realized like the long-term effects of being a person who acts like that. And it's something that I'm trying so hard right now not to do, because I see
Mm.
it as really damaging to other people's character around you. And I don't care if people are supposed to be strong enough and not controlled by your actions and blah, 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 blah. It still affects them. It still
Yeah.
affects
Yeah.
them. Ultimately, it's hurtful. It's hurtful, and it diminishes their own sense of self-worth. And I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Man,
And
I was
That's
just talking to my
beautiful.
sponsor about that last night, and it was like it's like projected lies, and then I remember the other one is like survival lies, like that we tell ourselves. And I grew up my whole life thinking I was stupid. Like I really thought it was stupid. I had some medical issues when I was younger, so it was like I just went off of it. And kids or my sister would say it, and my whole life I thought that I was stupid, and I'm not. I thought I was weak, and I'm not. So it's all these things
Magical
that
motherfucker.
I'm a magical motherfucker. That's right. And I've read more books in my recovery than I've read in my whole life. But
My,
it's just that the point is like it does. It's what we say to people. It might be words to us, but it could be what they're labeling themselves as.
and
Yes.
like, one of the things that this guy I just listened to on the speaker tape does is he does like his step 4 on the lies from his life that he tells himself. And so
Yeah.
like I'm starting a step 4 with one of my sponsees, but it's not only going to have my resentments, but it's actually going to have my lies that I tell myself in my life
Yeah.
that control myself. Because
Wow.
there's so many of them that like I like low self-esteem things that I still tell myself,
Yeah.
and I still catch myself doing it, and I know that it's a lie. Like,
My mind was blown when I wrote it all down, and I realized that, so I had to identify which was, projected and which was survival. And both of those don't come from who I am. I'm
mhm,
trying to survive, or somebody said something to me and I believe it. It's
absolutely.
pretty, yeah. Yeah. So I had to say that. But like I just talked about it last night. It's just such good shit. It really is.
Are you still there, Andrew, or are you frozen? I was like, man, he's he's
In and
found
out
it for way too long. But oh, okay, he's gone. So
Yep.
I'm sure he's gonna come right
I was
back.
like, are we boring him? Is he
He
sleeping?
was like, I was like, ooh, little pouty. He didn't like my answer.
Man, that was too funny. That was funny.
It just froze him like.
I know I probably look crazy too, but freeze frames when people are mid sentence are great, and
Oh, I
it's just
love
what
it.
it is.
I
Yeah.
used to like do that with would do a video of my daughter when she was a baby, and she's like learning her face, and she'd be like all these crazy things. She looked like she was one of the Sopranos, like.
I do have my son. I catch him in the background and I zoom in, and it's always a
Yeah.
weird face, and then I make that the picture only.
I love that.
That's
So
funny.
until Andrew jumps in, why don't you ask a question, Brandy, and then we'll go back to Andrew,
Okay.
just to keep things
All right.
rolling.
That sounds good to me. Let me see. I have a couple on here. Okay. Who am I asking? I guess
Sydney,
whoever. Sydney.
or question queen, if you like.
There we go. In all the tools in your recovery tool belt, which ones help you to do the next right thing or to keep your side of the street clean?
Oh, Brandy, what a heavy hitter question. Um, wow, tools in my tool belt, or what was the second part?
Or keeping the side of yours, or
Okay. Look at
keeping
you,
your
a
side
little
of the street
cliche
clean.
saying. This is like you're speaking to my heart, you know? You know how to. Wow. So I think, there's so much that I could uh say with that, but I think the biggest one is that I have, when I first got here, the one thing first and foremost I wanted to work on besides getting clean was my honesty. And I think I've done, I'm not perfect, I never will be, but like I think I've done a pretty damn good job, working on it from where I was to where I'm at now. And I think to me, keeping my side of the street clean means I have to consistently, well, first just be consistent in general, but like also keep that honesty, right? Because if I'm lying about any part of me or, welcome back, Andrew, or like my recovery or anything that goes on, it's just kind of like I'm only hurting myself at that point. Nobody ever caught me in a lie the way that I expected them to. And, it just really, when you keep your side of the street clean, it's just your side of the street, like it doesn't affect anybody else. And so like the tools that keep me doing that and like keeping me on the right track for the next right thing, like just being honest, like the how of the program, right? The honest, open-minded, and willing. Like I have to go through those things. And, sometimes when it's about like things that I need to say to somebody, it's like, I run through the whole, like, do I need to say this? Like, does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now? All that, like, I need to think about other people, like I need to not take, like I said before, like just get outside myself. Like um, because I want to, like, if I'm having a difficult conversation with somebody and, there's probably some things that I want to say and doesn't necessarily mean that I should say it, especially
Yeah.
like there's a difference between honesty and brutal honesty and, where it becomes mean. And like, I could get to that place if I'm not in the space to have that kind of conversation with somebody. And sometimes the next right thing is to just say nothing for me, So I guess it kind of just depends on the situation, but generally it's like just taking those spiritual principles that, like, that Andrew mentioned, like they're in the step work, like everyone that I've used so far, like has really benefited my life, and I, I'm hello. And
Continue.
yeah. And I don't know, man. I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, I'm just working on like remaining honest, remaining teachable, and just doing the next right thing, keeping my side, remembering that it's like about me, right? It's not like about what other people are doing. It's about like how can I control a situation. So that's my answer.
Great
Beautiful.
one. Could you
That was
please
beautiful.
repeat it for me, Friedel?
I thought it was my
will, I
question.
will.
Or we got better.
We
Do you
went
wanna- we
on to
can-
Brandy because you were gone for a
Okay,
while,
then
so
we'll-
you'll ask the next question, Andrew.
You look like you were
Damn.
sleeping.
You dropped out. That's all. So
Yeah,
we just
no,
kept it rolling.
I got kicked
Yep.
out.
I know, that was like me
Okay.
in Mexico.
Okay, so in all the tools in your recovery tool belt, which ones help you to do the next right thing or keep your side of the street clean?
Well, I think the very first thing that comes to my mind is, step 10ing, and trying to keep my quantity of resentments to a minimum, like, and trying to clear that shit out is I kind of my only way of, like, obviously you could say doing step 4 to 9, but really step 10 is like doing 4 to 9 every day. So, in each moment, I'm definitely trying not to have a bunch of built up things in my life, because that's when the squirrel cage gets going, and that squirrel cage is like the prelapse vehicle to Shitsville. And it's so, for me, it's really about, gosh, I feel like pulling the spiritual principles, like, but there's the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, but also with humility, You know, like having that ability to be like, whoa, I'm not any better than anybody, and what I'm doing is probably like a hurtful action, and to be able to realistically see that and acknowledge it, it can really kick me in the balls on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But but the thing is though is that every time I take that kick, it's like I'm gonna actually walk so that I don't deserve one a little better next time, you
There you
know?
go.
Yeah, and pretty much, you know, I feel like that's really, you know, for me, it's that's kind of my little cycle that I do, and also really that praying gratitude for surrendering a lot of those things. You know, like my my form of prayer right now is really transforming my entire spiritual life in a massive, massive way. And it's trying to pray for gratitude for a lot of things that I don't have, and that you
Mm.
know that I might have one little smattering of, and just being really focusing on that little smattering and having that gratitude for that, or just even being grateful for the opportunity to surrender those things I don't like in that way, you
That's
know?
a good one.
And that's, yeah. So, I mean, I think I'm there. I'm going to let you ask Andrew now this question.
All right, Andrew. In all the tools in your recovery toolbox, which ones help you do the next right thing and or keep your side of the street clean?
It's a good question, Brandy. I got thrown off like crazy. I swear if I get kicked out again, I'm gonna not come back.
Oh,
Because
come
I'm
on. We,
just
Always
we
no,
come
love you.
back.
no. I wanted to respond to what you said, Milan. Now it's like half on my brain, but you talked about when you
No, it
did the
was
right
your turn
thing.
to ask a question. We had finished with mine.
No, I know, but
Oh,
I wanted to talk about something you said. It was a very good point that you had made.
okay.
When
You
you
can
talk
talk
about
about it.
doing,
Then don't feel bad.
I am. Just relax, bro. Just let me. Can we? I'm just talking about it. You said something about with when you had the other person and maybe you made the right decision and you throwing it down their throat as it being like the right decision or whatever. And that's it really hit with me because um when you do that, like let's say you had made the right decision and it was right what you did, and then you throw it down their throat, it almost cancels out that good thing that you did,
Hmm.
feeling wise and other, the whole thing. So and I know it was small or something, but it was really, really profound when you said it, man. I wanted to make that a point. So,
I,
um,
I love
That's
you.
good.
I love you. And
I
I
love you
want you,
more,
if
man.
you get thrown out 100 times, you come back. Y'all come
You
back
better
now.
come
Yeah.
back.
No, I know. No, I know. It's just outside influences, man.
Oh,
So,
oh, dude, think about it. When I was down in Mexico, it was doing that and it was driving me crazy, man.
it was terrible,
Mm.
man. It was
It's a real
terrible.
vibe wrecker to get cut off from the vibe.
So, to answer your question, what was the last part of your
I'll say it
question,
again.
Brandy?
So with all the tools in your recovery toolbox, which ones help you do the next right thing or to keep your side of the street clean?
Well, I got a lot of tools in my toolbox. Which ones help me? Um, man, I gotta out surrender this thing, man. If I can surrender my issues and what I have going on to him, then all these problems aren't really there. They are, but I know I'm going about them the right way. Those answers will come to me. But Sydney hit on it earlier, the whole humility piece, man. The humility piece is really, really important to me. And that's kind of like the most important one in terms of strategically, right? Love. So I got that double soaker full of double barrel super circle full of love and humility, right? And love is just constant. Love is just that like it's just out there spraying everybody constantly. But humility is tactical for me. You know, humility. It's not about me. It's not about us anymore. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If being able to ask for help when you're in a spot of need, man, and that's what Sean taught me that real early on when I was with him. I think there was like a speaking engagement that I was freaking out a little bit. It was one of our what is it? Uh, our speaker jams that we do at New Year's Eve.
The marathon.
It was something about
Mhm.
the speaking engagement there, and I called him last minute for some help, and he's like, and I was like freaking out. I was pissed off and upset with myself, and he's like, bro, first off, you need to calm down for a second. And he's like, you have a problem. You didn't have an answer to the problem and you called me. he goes, bro, I'm fucking proud of you. First of all,
Mm.
thank you for calling me because it helps me out. But like, you practice humility right there. You called me, you used that spiritual principle of humility and you called me. And that's a big deal. And it spun things around for me. You know, humility is very, very important to me. I knew when I felt love how to give it out, but Sean has really, really tapped me into that humility piece since I've been with him. It's been very, very important. Humility is like it's kind of like the glue that holds everything together for me, right? If I have a foundation built on bricks of love, the things that are holding those bricks together is humility. So to answer your question specifically, that would be my answer, humility. Without
Nice.
Like
going off
that.
on a tantrum, which I can do every time. So I'm not going to do that.
I love it. And
Brandi.
then for myself, you know, there's so many tools in our tool belts, and some I feel like get used all in one scenario, and some, you know, more than others. But when it comes to doing the next right thing, it is for me, it's like, and it's all. I mean, that's really a lot of them are spiritual principles in there, but it's willing. You know, like I got to be willing. Like I can know what the next right thing is, but am I willing to do it? Am I, you know, and that's a big one. And same with keeping my side of the street clean, because I didn't really get what that meant for a long time. And it's like, you know, I could just, it's okay if it's a little messy, you know, and, or if I could just, you know, tell people it's fine, it looks fine, but am I really doing the work then? You know, and so to be willing, because I think that, I know that I'll never be cured, and I'm not, if I ever think I got this disease down pat, I better call my sponsor, but it's, I'm more than willing to do the work every day, even if it feels like, well, I mean, I know this already, but I'm not doing it for myself at that point. I'm doing it for the next addict. And I hope to always be willing, you know, and encourage, because it's, even today, there's things obviously can be scary in life and in recovery. I mean, upcoming things like, you know, somebody might die, or like, I'm super afraid to have surgeries. I don't want to have surgeries, and I'm going to have to. But I need to have, you know, the courage. And so there's so many of them, but willingness and courage, and remain teachable, because I don't know everything. And I won't know everything when I got 10 years or 20 years. I think I could always have something to learn, whether it's about myself or about my disease and how it can help me, or I can help the next addict or my family. I mean, I've always got something to learn. Fucking teenagers, man. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast right there. But but you know, so it's important to, and another thing with that question too is it's important to use those tools, because I've talked to a lot of addicts that know the answers to their problem and don't use them. And maybe that's the willingness of it all too, because you know it's there, and I remember the tools I have sometimes afterwards. But I know for next time, you know, someone else was saying here, like, I try to learn something from every mistake. I don't want to waste mistakes. You know, okay, I'm just gonna do it differently next time, because now I know that this is the outcome if I do it this way. And so, yeah, use those tools. I always thought that was so cheesy at first too. I'm like, "What is this tools?" Now I'm like, you get those tools out and you use them.
Losers.
I got my little recovery tool belt, you know, visual. That's what I picture. All right,
Awesome.
that was my, that
That's
was it.
beautiful.
So I have 19 minutes left, and then I have to leave for a meeting I'm going to. So what I'll do is I'll let Andrew ask this last question, but we'll get 4 minutes each on it. And then that'll pretty much roll us into town at that time. Is that good with
Yes, sir.
everyone?
Yeah, man.
Okay, Andrew, you want to ask Brandi then? Because
I
we haven't
can.
heard enough of Brandi right now, because I
We
love her.
haven't. You ready? You ready, Brand Dizzle?
And when I say I
All
love
right,
you,
I'm
I
ready.
mean I love you.
I love you back.
LLA.
What, Brandy, is the hardest part about sticking to the next right thing through emotional moments, and how do you deal with that? Or excuse me, through tough emotional moments. So what is the hardest part about sticking to the next right thing in tough emotional moments, and how do you deal with that?
Man, that's a good question, because we can always say to do the right thing when it's an everyday thing, but when it's a hard moment and things aren't, you know, going exactly the way we know they're going to go, you know, like when our emotions get into it, it's definitely, it's a hard one. But for me, like that inner peace, I have to center myself. And if I center myself, I can kind of like collectively, you know, break shit down. So I'm not looking at it as this big fireball. That's what it is, and to be able to look at something for what it is. Because if not, I'm going to do the wrong thing. Like I've done the wrong thing so many. I still do the wrong thing, but today I can admit it and learn from it. So if I can sit there and try to pause and I put the brakes on before it becomes where I have to make amends, because I don't like to, I can make amends today, but I don't like to do it. So it helps me to not do that.
I
But
love
it's
to
when
do
our
it.
emotion, I have to make an amends, and but I do it today. I would not have done it before at all. I would have lied about it, and but today, when I'm feeling off or something's going on, an argument or like somebody's sick or something that's a major thing in life, um, I really just do have to center myself. Inner peace. My sponsor used to say, you don't want to have an emotional relapse. And I'm like, let's just focus on not using drugs. What do you mean emotional relapse? I don't get it. And then the more I started doing work with her and I realized like how important, my spirituality is and my centeredness, uh, it really does keep a lot of balance in how I react to things. And I can't do the next right thing if I'm pissed off. Like I'll do it, but it's not the next right thing. I'm just doing it, the motion of it. Because the next right thing is not like, otherwise it'd be people pleasing. It's not cursing up and down inside your head while you're doing something nice for somebody. I'm sorry, but that's not the next right thing. That is just people pleasing. And so I think that being able to collect your thoughts, and it's just so stupid. Have you guys ever seen the movie Majority Report? Or anyways, they got the screen, the visible screen, and he's like looking at something, he checks it off. Like that's what I think about when it comes to my emotions. I'm like, I don't want that one. No,
Check.
that one's too much.
Little virtual
Yeah,
check.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
and instead of it's because if I just go off of an instant moment and I feel like it's justified. Justified is a dangerous thing. Then it's not going to be the next right. So what is it? Naming my feelings. That's a big one. So that's a good answer or a good question. That's a good answer.
That was a beautiful answer.
That was a great
beautiful
answer.
I love you, Brandy. You were my
I love
thoughts
you guys.
exactly. My thoughts took the words right out of my mouth.
I told
All
you
right,
I love a good attaboy. Just
all
not
right,
usually
Miss
for
Sydney.
myself.
Are you ready?
Me?
So, yes, you ready?
Okay. Yep. I'm
All right,
ready.
okay, Sydney, aka the Question Queen. What is the hardest part about sticking to the next right thing in tough emotional moments, and how do you deal with that?
That's a really intense question because I can think of so many different times when that's happened, I think especially in the past 6-ish months, I've been feeling a lot of feelings. They're coming back to me very slowly. And it's a lot of things like Brandy was just saying, I don't have a name for, so I have to name them. But even before I name them, I kind of just try to describe it to myself, in the same way of the phrase halt, right? Am I afraid? A lot of the time I am really lonely or I am really angry or something's going on and it's affecting my decision making in general, and the way that I'm acting. And I don't want to act on spiritual principles when all I want is a feeling to go away, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, because sometimes good feelings are scary. And I think that it's important that I recognize when I'm in that tough emotional state and I talk about it, because I know that even when honestly, what I've learned is that if I don't want to do something, talk about something or call my sponsor or go to a meeting, I need to do it, because there's a reason I'm not doing it. And it's most likely my disease is trying to hold me back from something. And I had those tough emotional moments. There's definitely been so many. And I've gone through a lot of stuff this time around in recovery. And honestly, the thing that's just been the easiest is sometimes even just picking up the phone, calling someone and just saying, I don't want to talk. I just need you on the phone, and sometimes that's the next right thing. Even if I can't get it out, even if I can't describe how I'm feeling, I just say hey, I'm feeling kind of messed up right now. I don't know what it is. And I just needed to tell somebody. It's kind of that accountability piece of it. I think that really means it means a lot to be able to hold myself accountable today, and to know that is people recognize that in me and I recognize that in myself, that I want to do that. I want to keep doing the right thing because like I've done the wrong thing for so long. And like honestly, feeling tough emotions, as much as I don't like it in the moment, I am so grateful. Like I really truly am to be able to feel that. Like like I said at the beginning, I love a good cry, even when it's like I'm so upset, like everything is awful kind of cry. Like I didn't cry, I never cried because I just like wouldn't even sleep. There were so many things that were just not where I want to be today. And so like to be able to feel things that I've never really felt before and can't put a word to today, like I'm so grateful for it because I get to learn. Like we were just talking about like remaining teachable, and like that's so important to me that I can continue to do that. And it's I think making sure that I take myself out of that emotion and recognize that it's just something that I'm feeling that will pass. Right. Like it's also that sitting on it, it will pass. It's just take it one moment at a time sometimes. And that really helps me to get through that moment and to not do anything irrational before, and act on that feeling. Cause like you say, Andrew, feelings aren't facts, right? But it's a fact that we feel. So I gotta just
Yes.
focus on that. So that's my
Mm-hmm. I love that. That was beautiful, Sydney. That was so
It
beautiful.
was.
Love you. Love you very much.
thank you
I'm
for
so
the
glad it took us only 99 episodes to get you on here.
honestly.
It's okay because we're gonna make another 40,000.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
I
Yeah.
got to practice though. I got
I
to
love
watch
you,
40
man. I love you guys,
Yeah.
man. I love you so much.
Can
You ready, Milan?
I'm ready for the question.
What's the hardest part about sticking to the next right thing in tough emotional moments, and how do you deal with that?
Well, the immediate response to me is I don't. I suck. And anger. Like it's anger. When I'm tired and I'm angry, it is just like I am not able to be the better person in those moments.
Mm.
And so the greatest solution for me is removing myself from the situation and giving myself that break to collect myself because otherwise it's just going to get worse. And I generally am pretty good at walking out the door and taking a breather when I see that happening inside myself because I'd love to say, wow, yeah, I got this awesome. And to be quite honest, since I stopped trying to control my anger and started to surrender it in the last 7 weeks, it's a lot better. Like it is unbelievably better than it was. And that's where part of, what's happening inside my program to me seems so miraculous. Like that after 18 months of me fighting my anger, in 7 weeks, it's like 1,000 times better than it was from surrendering it. So, if anything, it's not coming in the moment. It's coming from the moment of surrender that's given me any relief.
Beautiful, man.
I love that. You just like totally spoke about the 6 and 7 step right there. Like
Yeah, man.
I
How
felt
do you do that? How do you do that?
Right.
Because I love you.
I love you, man. All right, so is it my turn?
Yeah.
How, Andrew, what is the hardest
Mhm.
part about sticking to the next right thing through tough emotional moments, and how do I deal with that? Um, wow. Every specific situation is its own thing, but I stay tapped into y'all, and the hardest part about doing that is, when I think about it, is slowing down enough to actually do it. When I'm wrapped up in a situation, or I start pinging around my brain to an answer to a situation or a problem, it's really hard for me to slow down. If I'm scared, if I'm angry, if I'm restless, y'all hit on a lot of those: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's really hard for me to slow down and process my thoughts in a way where I can process my way to the end. How's this going to affect me? How's it going to affect my family? How's it going to affect my job? Because I want to escape that feeling. As an addict, I want to do anything I can to get out of that feeling. And in those moments, it almost feels like the next right thing is almost like an unnatural thing to do at first. I don't know if y'all have ever gotten that feeling where doing that thing is like an unnatural feeling. But as I find myself, as I do it more and more, as I lean into that feeling, it gets easier to do. Like our brains are amazing things, man. If we start shutting down in those hard moments, our brains keep track of that shit. You might not
Yeah.
think you might think it's, hey, I'll do it next time. No, it's gonna get a little harder to overcome that thought to do it next time. And just like the opposite of that, right? If we do overcome that thing, our brain's going to keep track of that too, naturally, and then it's going to get a little easier to overcome that obstacle next time. So it's really about body in motion stays in motion, body is at rest stays at rest. A person recovering is going to stay recovering, hopefully, if they're working that upward trajectory. And then in the opposite, if you're not, good luck. Good luck white knuckling it up in here, just trying to stay clean, not knowing why you're here. Not reading this literature, not working on this step work. It's really tough to come in here and think you're going to get a crew to roll with and get a really a new life going on without doing those things and reading this book that was written for you by you. What's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. Yeah, with that being said, feelings aren't facts, but it's facts that we do feel. Sydney, you're absolutely right. And how much time do I got? I got a minute and a half left. You talked about service earlier, Sydney. Look, if service is beneath you, then leading is beyond you. You got to remember that. You got to start off and learn your craft before you can master that craft. And so look, remember this too, man. Maybe God is not giving you your next task because of how you're handling your now task, right? So you got to really think about the one you're doing now and how you're handling it, because he hasn't really put that next thing in front of you. So don't go looking for it because of how you're handling your now situation. And we talked about kind of turbulence earlier. Turbulence is the price we pay for flying high, right? We're going to hit turbulence. We're going to hit turbulence. Got to push through it. And maybe you're asking for a rose, Miss Sydney, when God has written for the whole garden to be yours. You got to remember that shit, man. Don't ask for the rose, Miss Sydney. Maybe you're asking for a rose, Miss Sydney, when God has written for the whole garden to be yours. You can get that garden one day at a time. Love you.
That's powerful.
I love you.
Yeah.
Love that. Brandi, would you like to say anything at the end of the show?
Me?
Yeah, I'll just.
Oh, Brandi, sorry. Go ahead.
I was coming to you next, Miss Sydney.
Just that I thought this was a great topic, and I feel like we could talk about it another time too. I feel like it's never ending on its own.
But we'll have Doing the Right Thing Part 2.
I like it. That would be the right thing to do, really. And so, but this has been a great episode. So I mean, I love you guys so much, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this.
Love you, Brandi.
That's all I gotta say.
And Miss Sydney, after your first time being on the show, we would like to say some closing words.
You killed it too.
Oh, you killed it. I love you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so nice. And, I'm glad that we got such a nice discussion on this topic, because it really means so much to me. It's really got me to the place where I am today. And honestly, knowing Andrew and Brandi, they're two of the first people that I remember from my home group. And I honestly followed a lot of what they did in their recovery because I wanted it in mine, and what they were doing seemed like the next right thing to do. And here we are talking about it on a podcast. And thank you so much, Milan and Andrew, for having me. And I think that's just full circle, a beautiful moment. I really enjoyed it. So
I really loved the dynamic of the four of us. It's great. I would love to have another episode with the four of us. Monthly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And thank you for coming today, Sydney. Brandi, I always miss you when I don't see you. And Andrew, I miss you every day. But
every day, brother.
Yeah.
Remember, Miss Sydney, maybe you're asking for a rose when God has written for the whole garden to be yours, Sydney.
Andrew, write that down and text it to me.
I know. I like that.
Next
That's
episode
good.
for more recovery fun. Bye-bye, everybody. We love you. I love you so much. Please help us. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.